Hey guys, doing a little experiment. Good friend of mine was the first to respond on my Facebook page, shot me over a video of his golf swing, and I thought we'd take a peek at it, maybe critique it, maybe we can all learn from it, you know? So I've got it set up here on another screen, and let's see what we can do. We can roll through. So I've got the video here, and what we can do is just maybe watch it a couple times. You know, he's got a good motion, right on plane, hits it, and I'll walk through it here. So here's his setup. So let's go right here. Here's his setup, and I'm just gonna sort of put in some lines there. And I always like to do this, you know, when I'm doing some video instruction. I've got the shaft line, which is the blue line there. The purple line is the shoulder line. Then we draw a circle around his head, and then the red line represents spine angle. So you can imagine, you know, roughly the tilt of the spine as he's bowing forward to the ball. So he's in a pretty good position here. It looks like he's set up pretty square. You can see a little bit of roundness in his back, which is pretty common, you know. But otherwise looks reasonably comfortable, reasonably square. From this perspective, we can't really get a real sense for, you know, weight shift one way or another, but generally looks like he's standing there pretty comfortably. So let's walk through as he takes the club away. You can see the club's coming back, and a lot of this is camera perspective, right? So it looks like the camera's up about maybe chest high or so, give or take. So this is roughly that 9 o'clock position, and you could see if the camera was right along his toe line, hip high, then the club should be, in theory, pointed right at the camera at this stage. But I suspect the camera was up a little bit higher. So this is fine, you know. Looks like it's as if he's shaking hands with us left-handed. Looks pretty good. And as we get to the top, what we look for here is for the hands to get up in between that V somewhere. So as you can see at the top of his swing, just short of parallel, the hands are just on the bottom edge of that V, which is cool. It's just a little more on the flatter side of the spectrum. You know, if he was up towards the purple line, that might be more like a Dustin Johnson kind of thing where, you know, get your hands way up high. And another thing we look at is the club face. So the leading edge of the club face there is roughly parallel to his left arm. So that's pretty cool. And so that's really good. It all looks pretty good. You can see his head has sort of come down just a touch. So we could see just maybe a little bit of upper body sag there, but not a big deal. This is all looking just fine to me. The one thing that beginners will do from this position, if you're a slicer, what we look for here, this unit right here, your hands and your club, if we see anything moving outward, so out over towards your head, out that way, that's one thing that you can look for in your own golf swing. If you've got any of that motion going on, then you got this over the top motion where I'm sure that leads to cutting across the ball, hitting it with a glancing blow, and usually either pulling it hard or slicing it, those weak slices. But Craig doesn't have much of that going on, so he doesn't have any of that going on. So he's right on plane. He gets right there. You can see that first move down. Those hands are moving down along that blue line. It's actually really good. That club is right on plane. And what we like to see is at some point those hands getting into the V and the club coming at the ball from underneath that blue line from this perspective. If you're looking at your own swing, if your hands are here and the club head itself is out here, outside of that purple line, the pink line, then you're in a bad spot. But Craig's in a really good spot here. This is exactly where you want to be. You could see he's maybe lost a little bit of his posture. So the spine angle has changed. He's sort of bowing a little more to the ball, which is not that big of a deal. And as the centrifugal force takes over here, as the speed carries the club head through the ball, we'll probably see that sort of raise back up to offset those forces. But let's carry it through impact. He's through impact right here. And here's sort of where the beginning of where I might float some recommendations to Craig. So here he is right here. and through impact, the club is back around, and you can see the club is up over his left shoulder there, and he's still on that right foot is just now. You see right now he's at the top of his follow through, and the right foot hasn't quite raised off the ground, and there it goes. Okay, so all okay, but I think he could gain some power and consistency. And if you imagine here at impact, so right here at impact, feet are still flat-footed, his hips are more or less square or maybe a tinge open. If you look at tour guys, you'll see a lot more torquing, a lot more body rotation at impact. So we're not returning to the same position at setup. At impact, those hips should be rotated more open, and because that's what's leading the club through the ball. And I think Craig could benefit from a little more body rotation, a little more lead with the body, and letting that club head sort of follow behind, impacting the ball later. So what I see here is that the body sort of doesn't lead the way enough, and so that heel not rolling off the ground is not a cause of the problem. It's an effect of sort of the lesser body rotation. You can see in theory it's a more of an arm hit as opposed to his core sort of leading the way through impact and driving the ball. So if he rotated his hips, and you can see if you take a look at that left foot sort of in there behind his left leg, right here, it's planted in the ground, and then as he swings through the ball, that foot rotates. You see that? So that foot rotating and pointing targetward right here is sort of paving the way for his body to then rotate. So what I might recommend to Craig is maybe we set you up with that left toe a little more flared open, and that might encourage a little more body rotation through impact, and the body can rotate, can lead the club, and arms, hands, club head can lag behind that body rotation. We can bring a little more power and control the club a little bit more with our body, as opposed to arms and hands catching up with our body. Body sort of slows, club keeps going, club goes around our body, and then very late the body rotates, that right heel rolls off the ground. So I would like to see Craig just focus on maybe at impact getting that belt buckle facing more targetward, right? The belt buckle should be, we should see his left butt cheek there a little bit, and we kind of don't, So if his left butt cheek is in view, that rotation is what's going to pull that right heel off the ground a little bit sooner. But that rotation is what leads the club through the ball. But everything's on plane, everything's on track. I just think he could probably gain a little more power, and because when we're using the big muscles, when the body's rotating, I think he's going to gain some consistency if we can maybe flare that left toe just a touch, allow for that rotation. That way he's not twisting his knee, and might free up his body rotation a little bit to help add some power through the ball. So Craig, I hope that helps you, man, and hope that helped everybody else too.